Greetings. It is Thursday, January the 23rd, 2025. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is a special report on the first days of the Trump administration 2.0. Okay, well, we're off to the races here. We're off to an interesting start. It's been said for many, many years, if not centuries, the first 100 days of a presidential administration is where most of the stuff gets done, and Mr. Trump does not seem to be wasting any time. First off, very good news for those who are interested in drinking from the fountain of knowledge as opposed to just gargling at it and pretending they know about it. The J6ers, the hostages, as Mr. Trump so eloquently called them, have been released and pardoned and commuted. In some cases, those that were involved with some activities that were somewhat questionable. It was decided to just put it all behind us, which would have been a very smart thing to do 4 years ago when people for very minor offenses, for the most part, were persecuted, the likes of which the United States has never witnessed. About 1,500 people were wrongfully imprisoned in many cases for nearly 1,500 days. Again, most people do not know what went on down there. They believe what the legacy media told them, as opposed to hearing from people who were actually on the ground and saw things with their own eyes. And in the not-too-distant future, you're going to hear some interesting reports coming from this direction. Actually, for the last couple of days, I have been speaking to some J6ers, some of whom I knew back before they got caught up in this, and the stories I'm hearing are horrifying. It wasn't just the people who were down there protesting, or in some cases were nowhere near the Capitol. These are people that were telling me how their families were targeted for taxes and for other sorts of harassment. They've had to sell homes. Families have been turned against other family members. Damages to decent Americans. I've been trying to find out exactly how many suicides were made to happen because of the January 6th prosecutions. I know of one, and that'll also be a subject in the future. I've been told there are several others, but I wasn't able to get those names or the details before this morning. Again, this is a story that is going to be playing out. You're going to be hearing stories of torture. You're going to be hearing stories of abuse. You're going to be hearing stories of families being ripped apart, of people losing everything. It is a fact of nature that criminals, and that includes politicians who are also criminals, are stupid. That's one of the things that is an earmark of a criminal, someone who's stupid. Otherwise, they'd be able to make money more honestly with a lot less stress. The person in an underground cave with a cat that you see in James Bond movies and the like, that's really fiction. But people who are very good at manipulation and taking advantage of others, sociopaths and psychopaths, there are too many of them in the U.S. government. Mr. Trump is going to have one heck of a job. But the thing is that if these people were just pretty much given slaps on the wrist, which is what they really deserved in most cases, it would have just gone away. And Trump probably wouldn't have gotten as popular as he did. But now what you have, from what I can see, is a very large community, about 1,500 strong. Maybe a few people are just going to put it behind them and walk away, but I would bet most of them won't. These are people who cared about their country enough to travel to Washington and make their voices heard. Most of them didn't do anything nefarious, most of them. But they were horribly punished for nothing in most cases. And you now have a hardcore group of people who are not fools. They might have been naive back then, but they're not naive anymore, and they know exactly how corrupt and evil the United States government can be towards the innocent. And they are not going to forgive, and they sure as heck are not going to forget. And if you add by extension those who know their stories firsthand or their family members, or children that didn't get to see their father for years as they were growing up, in some cases in very, very important times of their lives. Well, that's not going to be forgiven. You now have a determined community of people that are never going to let this happen again. And now that they've been pardoned, they're going to be very vocal and they're going to be very active. I've heard quite a few stories about evidence about it being a setup and all sorts of things, but I promise you that there will be a lot more reported from this corner on this event, and you're going to find it quite interesting. The criminals who pushed this and decided to punish people for political reasons are going to regret it, because these people are going to fight. And I don't mean violently. No, that's not going to work, and the system is set up to handle that sort of thing. But these people are going to be active. They are going to wear their J6 badge as a red badge of courage. Now, there were people that did bad things, really. There were people that assaulted and people that shouldn't have been there, and they're troublemakers. Exactly how many were in federal employ is yet to be determined, and it will probably be the subject of a federal investigation at the congressional level. And again, we're just beginning to see the story coming out now. And I predict most Americans who are decent people, including some that voted for, well, the bad guys this last time around, they're probably going to wake up as well. In other good news, well, the border, that's now being dealt with. Criminal gangs that have been selling poison to our people and killing them are now considered terrorist organizations, and I hope they're hunted down and killed, which is what you're supposed to do with the bad guys. I have talked to people who are living on the border. I have some good connections down in the area of New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, and they've told me, yeah, the U.S. military is evidently active. You're seeing helicopters. You're seeing troops showing up. It's going to get interesting. I've also been told that there's quite a few people that have already just left, people with families, but the danger is going to be with these criminal gangs. These are people that are wanted in their own countries and have no place to go, and they are not going to be taken alive. So you can expect to see some good old-fashioned shootouts between the people in the white hats and the people in the black hats. At least those that are wearing hats on the bad guys' side. Most of them just wear bandanas and carry heavy armament. It's going to be a mess to clean up in this country. It is not going to be easy, and this is what I keep telling people. It is going to be very messy, and people are going to pay for it with their lives, and not all of them are going to be bad guys. Thank you, Mr. Biden, and everyone who supported him. Now, other good news, well, economic stuff is going to take some time to come back. Mr. Trump has one heck of a mandate, and it does not appear that he's showing mercy, which is a very important thing. A lot of people I've talked to have said maybe they're going to get better automobiles. They're not going to be playing around with electric cars in the remote countryside, which is not a very smart idea, especially in winter. People are looking forward to lower gas prices. That'll take some time. That will take some time. But it's going to come. Other factors tied to that, we'll see. But again, things do not turn on a dime in a country, and they are not designed to turn on a dime in a republic. It's not a dictatorship, in spite of what a lot of left-wingers out there like to think. The system of government of the United States is designed to make hay slowly. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort, but, well, things look like they will be in better shape by spring. On the unfortunate side, the left-wing media and politicians haven't given up yet. I was watching some segments from the mainstream legacy media, and they really are grasping at straws here. Mr. Elon Musk, who is throwing out his heart to people in a spontaneous bit of excitement, people are trying to equate that with the Third Reich, which is just total nonsense. And there's plenty of memes out there showing all the left-wingers doing similar things. I mean, A friend of mine told me the other day, he said, the next 4 years are going to be better than any reality show. I'm in it for the memes. That would be a great T-shirt. I'm in it for the memes. Trump 2.0. It's going to be interesting, but the thing is that there are people out there that are hell-bent on basically trying to make the rules as they go along, and one such person is Mr. Larry Krasner of the Philadelphia Attorney General's office in Pennsylvania. He says he wants to prosecute all the people from Pennsylvania who were pardoned by Donald Trump following J6. They don't really want to get it, do they? Well, there's been some comments this morning from legal experts that it's going to be pretty hard for him to do that, but this just shows the vitriol, the pettiness, the evil that is at work in this country. And based on what I've heard from a few people who had to deal with federal law enforcement, especially FBI, following J6, they've given a pretty good case of telling me that that institution is rotten to the core. It's going to have to be reconstituted into something else. These are people that were patriots in many cases, and some of them were veterans, and at some point, you got to just tear something down and build up something new in its place. And I think there are a few federal agencies that definitely need to have that done to them. And their services and what's good about them, which is not much anymore, but what's needed to be given other administrative setups. The other thing I found personally disappointing is some people I've known for many years, when I've tried to present them with facts, they don't want to deal with them. They think that life begins and ends, as well as the truth begins and ends, with cable television, and it doesn't. There's going to be, I predict, a lot of people that are going to still not get the message that America is sick of the insanity. President Trump saw that at a prayer service the other day where a hopelessly left-wing bishop, was she? I don't know. It's now going to be safe for women to go to their own bathrooms and their own locker rooms without worrying about a man there lurking or trying to hurt them. In Loudoun County, Virginia, there was some sexual assaults that occurred, sadly, in schools because of such insanity. The insanity is going to be done away with, people, but there are those that are going to keep fighting to keep it there. Now, the ugly side of things, and this is something that I'm not too happy about, and if you followed any of my work, you know what I think about this particular topic. The other day, President Trump had a little get-together in the Oval Office with 3 executives, one from OpenAI, another from Oracle, and Mr. Sun from SoftBank, an interesting fellow. They were there to talk about a new project called Stargate. $500 billion to be spent on in the AI industry. Not only do I think that is a date that will live in infamy, it's a moment that will as well. The justification of this seeming willingness to replace humans with machines is, it was being excused away that it's going to create a whole bunch of new jobs. Yes, new jobs. We always have to have new jobs. Maybe it's dusting off the computers that are taking other people's jobs away. But no. I say again, AI, as it is now being implemented and envisioned, without any safety, really, no institutionalized safeguards, is the worst thing that the human race has ever come up with next to nuclear weapons. In fact, I think it's going to prove worse than nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons haven't been used since 1945. AI, it's already there. Now, that's something that is really, really going to have to be followed. But at the same time, if that goes wrong, it's going to go wrong very badly. Mr. Trump probably had to cut a deal. That's what he does. He cuts deals. And a lot of us were wondering what sort of deals he'd be cutting to get back into the White House. Because let's face it, if the deep state really, really wanted to get rid of him, they would have done so with far more vigor. But they decided to take a path of least resistance. Now, that's the one bad thing that I've seen in the last few days, and I have to admit, it's a whopper. The justification, well, the Chinese are going to do it, other people are going to do it. Well, I've heard that sort of thing before. Now, where it's going to go, I don't know. As we say in the business, stay tuned. Now, there you have it. There's a lot more that's going to be happening over the coming days and weeks and months. One interesting thing is I just read this morning, is that the Secret Service agent responsible for putting himself on top of Mr. Trump at Butler when that lone gunman, we're still trying to find out about, took a shot at him and almost killed him. He's going to be the new head of the Secret Service. That's good. Somebody's in the field who knows what's needed and knows what's taken. Secret Service was always considered a very sacred institution in the United States, and although it was poorly run during the Biden years by a woman who has now probably gone back to guarding potato chips, it was something that was a very stoic part of our federal government, and I, over the years, got to meet many people in that line of work, and so maybe there is hope. Maybe there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, or I should say, we're not out of the woods yet, but we can see light between the trees. That's it for today. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, share. Please consider a paid subscription. It keeps the lights on literally and figuratively. And don't forget not only to share with your friends, but to share with your enemies. I welcome feedback. My email address is feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. That's also the website you can reach me at for professional purposes. I'm on other social media platforms. I'm there if you need me. And this podcast originates at Substack. The address there is aureliancolumn.substack.com, and you can reach me there with direct messaging. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember, Clown World and the Deep State must be destroyed, and show no mercy. Good day.